It was a hot May afternoon in Ouagadougou in 2025 when IBRAHIM Traoré received an urgent call from his communications advisor, Yacouba Sawado. "Mr. President, you need to see this immediately. Ellen DeGeneres made some very offensive comments about you on her show." Ibrahim was in a meeting with ministers discussing infrastructure projects when he stopped everything to watch a video Yacouba was showing on his tablet on the screen. Ellen DeGeneres was laughing uncontrollably as she showed a photo of Ibrahim. "Guys, have you seen this president from Burkina Faso? What's that again?" "Burkina Faso," she said, prompting laughter from the audience. "He's 35 years old and he thinks he's the savior of Africa. It's hilarious. He looks more like a kid dressed up as a soldier playing house." The American audience erupted in laughter as Ellen continued. "Seriously, someone needs to explain to this kid that leading a country is not the same as playing video games. Maybe he should go back to school instead of playing president." Ibrahim watched in silence, his expression impassive as his ministers showed increasing outrage. "This is unacceptable," exclaimed Dr. Alans Ouedago, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. "She is humiliating not only you but our entire country." Ellen continued her disparaging remarks. "And that name, Ibrahim Traoré, sounds like a character from a Mexican soap opera. Someone should tell him that real life is different from TV." The video ended with Ellen doing an exaggerated imitation of a military march, causing more laughter. Ibrahim took a deep breath, closed his tablet, and looked at his staff. "Call an emergency meeting. It's time to teach Mrs. DeGeneres some lessons about respect and dignity." In the hours following Ellen DeGeneres' show, Burkinabe social media exploded with outrage. On the streets of Ouagadougou, university students organized spontaneous demonstrations, carrying signs with slogans such as "Respect our president" and "Ellen DeGeneres doesn't know us." The video of the American show instantly went viral, being shared millions of times with angry comments from Africans around the world. Ibrahim was in his office when his wife, Adjara Traoré, walked in visibly upset. "Ibrahim, I saw what this woman said. How dare she talk about you, about us like that?" Ibrahim hugged his wife affectionately. "Honey, ignorant people have always existed. She simply showed her true face to the world." Adjara shook her head. "But she has millions of followers. She is spreading a false image about Burkina Faso." At that moment, the Minister of Economy, Fatimata Sawado, walked into the office with alarming data. "Mr. President, Ellen's statements are already damaging our international image. 3 American investors have canceled meetings scheduled for next week." Ibrahim reviewed the reports with concern. "This shows how ignorance can have real consequences," he said. "But it also shows that we need to educate the world about who we really are." Yacouba Sawado interrupted the meeting with news from social media. "Sir, the hashtag Respect Burkina Faso is trending worldwide. African leaders are speaking out in defense of her. Senegal's president had tweeted Ellen DeGeneres shows total ignorance about modern Africa. Ibrahim Traoré is an internationally respected leader. Macky Sall of Senegal, Nana Akufo, Addo of Ghana, and other leaders expressed similar support." "I see we have support," Ibrahim said, "but our response cannot be emotional. It has to be intelligent, educational, and devastating." The next morning, Ibrahim called a special meeting with his entire communications team. The conference room at the presidential palace was packed with aides, ministers, and digital media experts. "Gentlemen," Ibrahim began, "Ellen DeGeneres has given us a unique opportunity. She has exposed her ignorance publicly, and now we are going to use it to educate the world about Burkina Faso." Dr. Ouedago leaned forward. "What is your strategy, Mr. President?" Ibrahim smiled subtly. "We are going to respond on her own turf through a video that will go viral, but for very different reasons than she imagines." Yacouba opened his laptop. "I can organize a professional production here at the palace. High-quality equipment, perfect lighting." "No," Ibrahim interrupted. "We don't want to sound artificial. I want something authentic but powerful. Let's shoot in the country itself, showing our reality. Batimata suggested we can include economic data, development statistics, infrastructure projects. Excellent, Ibrahim agreed. But I also want to show our culture, our people, our dignity. Ellen laughed at our appearance. Let's show our substance. The crew worked hard to prepare the script. Ibrahim would tour the country during filming, visiting schools, hospitals, factories, and development projects. We want every American who watches to see the difference between cheap entertainment and real leadership, Ibrahim said. Ajara suggested, including testimonials from ordinary citizens. Let our people speak for themselves. They know the transformation you have brought. Meanwhile, back home, Ellen DeGeneres had yet to realize the storm her words had caused. Her producers were starting to receive protest emails, but she went about her business as usual, unaware that she was about to face one of the most elegant and devastating comebacks in American television history. 3 days after Ellen's comments, IBRAHIM TRAORÉ was ready with his response. The production team had worked 72 hours non-stop to create a video that would be historic. Ibrahim began the recording in his presidential office dressed in a smart suit, with the Burkina Faso flag in the background. Hello, Mrs. Ellen DeGeneres. I'm Ibrahim TRAORÉ, the boy in costume you laughed at. His voice was calm but firm. I would like to introduce you to the real Burkina Faso, not the imaginary country in your head. The camera followed Ibrahim out of the palace and into a simple car. You said, I look like I'm playing house. Let me show you what kind of house I work with every day. Their first stop was a modern hospital in Ouagadougou. This is one of 73 health facilities we have built in the last 3 years, before women would die in childbirth because of lack of care. Today, our maternal mortality has dropped by 67%. The video showed doctors at work, state-of-the-art equipment, patients being treated. You may be joking, Monsieur DeGeneres. We are saving lives. Ibrahim visited a technical school where young people were learning computer programming and robotics. You laughed at my name, Ibrahim TRAORÉ, calling me a Mexican soap opera character. These young programmers don't care about my name. They care about the opportunities we're creating. A 19-year-old student told the camera, Our president gave us hope. Before, young people like me only dreamed of escaping the country. Now we are building our future here. The next stop was a cotton processing plant. About playing video games, Miss DeGeneres. This industry has created 45,000 direct jobs and is exporting to 23 countries. Maybe you should trade your games for the real economy. Ibrahim pointed out mechanized crops, paved roads, modern irrigation systems. You suggested I go back to school. I completed my MBA studying in the wee hours of the morning because my people can't wait for my education to have the better life they deserve. When Ibrahim's video was posted on social media, the reaction was instant and explosive. Within 2 hours, it had 1 million views. Within 6 hours, it was trending worldwide on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Positive comments poured in from every continent. This man just gave Ellen DeGeneres a lesson in dignity. Finally, someone has shown the world the real Africa. IBRAHIM TRAORÉ is the kind of leader we need more of. In the United States, the video drew mixed reactions, but mostly favorable to Ibrahim. American celebrities began to speak out. Oprah Winfrey tweeted, "Education and dignity always trump ignorance and prejudice." Congratulations, President TRAORÉ. Even some of Ellen's colleagues in the entertainment industry criticized her comments. Ellen went too far this time, said one NBC host. Mocking a foreign leader is not comedy, it's disrespect. At Ellen's Los Angeles headquarters, producers were in a panic. Ibrahim's video was receiving more views than any recent episode of the show. Ellen, you have to see this, her executive producer said, pointing to the metrics. He has completely destroyed our narrative. Ellen watched the video in increasing silence. Each minute made her ignorance more obvious. Shit, she muttered. I really didn't know anything about this guy or his country. The show's sponsors began to press. We need a quick response. The network's head said, This video is making Ellen look like a privileged idiot. Meanwhile, in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim was fielding calls from World I leaders congratulating him on his response. "President Traoré," said Emmanuel Macron, "your dignity in the face of the attacks was exemplary. France is proud to be a partner of Burkina Faso." Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also called, "Your response showed maturity and leadership. Canada wants to expand our cooperation." Ibrahim remained humble. "I did not seek this conflict, but I used the opportunity to show our true colors to the world." 3 days after Ibrahim's viral video, Ellen DeGeneres could no longer endure the mounting pressure. Her ratings had plummeted. Sponsors were threatening to cancel contracts, and her own team was pressing her for a public retraction. "Ellen, you have to do something," her agent told her during an emergency meeting. "This is getting out of hand." Ellen, known for rarely admitting mistakes publicly, was visibly shaken. "I never imagined he would be that the country would be exactly the problem," her producer interrupted. "You talked about something you knew nothing about." That afternoon, Ellen decided to do something she had never done before, a full live retraction. "Today, I have to talk about something important," she began, her signature smile gone. "A few days ago, I made comments about President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso that were completely inappropriate and ignorant. The audience, accustomed to the show's lighthearted atmosphere, fell silent. I made fun of a man who dedicates his life to improving his country and the lives of its people. I made fun of a nation I don't know, and whose achievements I haven't researched." Ellen showed clips of Ibrahim's video on the studio screen. "This man who I called the boy in a costume built hospitals, schools, created jobs, and transformed lives. Meanwhile, I was here making fun of his appearance." Her words sounded genuinely remorseful. "President Traoré, I know you're watching. I apologize not only to you, but to the people of Burkina Faso and all of Africa for my bigoted and ignorant comments." Ellen announced her decision. "I will visit Burkina Faso personally to learn about the country and the work of the president. I will also make a donation of $1 million to educational projects there in Ouagadougou." Ibrahim watched the show live with her staff. "She seems genuinely remorseful," Ajara commented. Ibrahim nodded. "Repentance is the first step to growth. Let's give her the opportunity to learn." 2 weeks after her public retraction, Ellen DeGeneres landed at Ouagadougou International Airport. The international media was heavily covering her arrival. It was the first time the host had visited any African country. Ibrahim Traoré personally welcomed her, showing her traditional Burkinabe hospitality. "Welcome to Burkina Faso, Mrs. DeGeneres," he said. Extending his hand respectfully, Ellen, visibly nervous, responded, "Thank you for welcoming me, President Traoré. I know I don't deserve this kindness after my comments." "Everyone deserves a second chance to learn," Ibrahim replied with a genuine smile. Over the next 3 days, Ibrahim personally guided Ellen around the country. First, they visited the hospital that had appeared in the viral video. Ellen spoke with doctors and patients, seeing firsthand the impact of health policies. "I never imagined that an African country could have such advanced medical technology," she admitted to the cameras documenting the visit. "At the technical school," Ellen was impressed by the young programmers developing agricultural applications. "These kids know more about technology than I do," she confessed, laughing at herself for the first time in weeks. A 20-year-old student, Musa Wedego, explained his project. "I developed an app that helps farmers optimize irrigation using weather data. It's already used on 200 farms." Ellen shook her head in amazement. "And I thought you guys didn't even have internet here." Ibrahim took her to visit solar energy projects that were powering entire villages. "Burkina Faso is becoming a leader in renewable energy in West Africa," he explained. 95% of our new energy comes from clean sources." That night, Ellen had dinner at the home of a farmer's family who benefited from government programs. Before President "Ibrahim, we could barely eat 3 times a day." The woman in the house said, "Now my children are studying at university." Ellen listened quietly, realizing the magnitude of her previous ignorance. On her last day, she visited a cultural center where local artists preserved ancient traditions. "You have an incredible cultural wealth," she said, genuinely moved. Why? The last day of her visit, Ellen DeGeneres was unrecognizable. The woman who had ridiculed IBRAHIM TRAORÉ on American television now followed him with genuine respect, asking intelligent questions and listening intently to every explanation. "President Traoré," she said during a walk through the gardens of the presidential palace, "I have something to confess. Throughout my career, I have always thought I knew the world. Now I realize that I have been living in a bubble." Ibrahim nodded sympathetically. "Miss DeGeneres, your honesty is admirable. Many people would rather maintain their illusions than face the truth." Ellen stopped walking and looked directly at him. "How can you not hate me? I was cruel, ignorant, prejudiced." "Because I understand that your ignorance was not malicious," Ibrahim replied. "It was just ignorance, and ignorance is cured by education and experience." That afternoon, Ellen broadcast live from Burkina Faso to her show in the United States. "Guys, I've been here for 3 days and my life has completely changed," she said with the presidential palace in the background. "Ibrahim Traoré is not a boy in a costume. He is a visionary who is transforming his country in extraordinary ways." She showed pictures of the projects she had visited. "Look at these hospitals, these schools, this technology. While I was making ignorant jokes, this man was saving lives and creating futures for millions of people." Ellen announced a permanent partnership. "I'm going to create a special show about modern African leaders. It's time for Americans to experience the real Africa, not the stereotypes that Hollywood has created." During the farewell dinner, Ellen gave an emotional speech. "President, you could have humiliated me when I attacked you. Instead, you educated me. That is true greatness." Ibrahim responded, "Ellen DeGeneres, you came here willing to learn. That takes courage. Now you can be a bridge between our peoples." The next morning, when Ellen flew back to Los Angeles, she carried not just memories, but a mission to change American perceptions of modern Africa. 3 months after Ellen DeGeneres visited Burkina Faso, the consequences of her transformation were echoing across the United States and the world. Her show had completely reinvented itself with special episodes on African leaders, technological advances on the continent, and inspiring stories of development. "My audience has grown 40% since I started talking about the real Africa," Ellen told CNN in an interview. "We found that education and inspiration sell better than bigoted jokes." The special episode on Ibrahim Traoré became the most watched in the show's history, with 18 million views in the United States alone. "If you watch this episode, you'll never see Africa the same way again." One TV critic commented in Burkina Faso, "The effects were even more profound. The positive exposure attracted unprecedented American investment. We've had $2.3 billion in new investment in the last 3 months, reported Fatima Sawado. Most of it comes from entrepreneurs who have watched Ellen's show. Ibrahim was in her office reviewing proposals for partnerships when Ajara called in with news from American universities. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, they all want to set up exchange programs with us, she said, smiling. Ellen has truly delivered on her promise to change perceptions. The impact has rippled across Africa. Other African leaders have begun to be invited to American programs. Ibrahim has opened doors for all of us, said Rwanda President Paul Kagame. He has shown that we can confront ignorance with dignity and education. Ellen has established a permanent foundation for African education projects focusing on technology and sustainability. Every dollar invested here multiplies in human development. She explained at the inauguration of a new technical school in DAU. U.S. President Trump commented on the situation. Ellen has done something that our diplomats should have done years ago. She has built real bridges with modern African leaders. On a quiet evening, Ibrahim reflected on the events of the past few months. "I never imagined that responding with dignity could have such a big impact," she told Ajara. "You didn't just stand up for Burkina Faso," she replied. "You changed how the world sees Africa." A year after the initial confrontation, IBRAHIM TRAORÉ was speaking at Harvard University, at the special invitation of Ellen DeGeneres. The auditorium was packed with American students, professors, and business leaders. A year ago, an American talk show host laughed at me on television. Ibrahim began drawing laughter from the audience. Today, we are here celebrating partnerships that benefit two continents. Ellen in the front row beamed with pride. She had become one of the most vocal advocates for U.S.-African cooperation. President Traoré taught me that dignity is more powerful than any weapon. She said during Ibrahim's introduction during his speech, Ibrahim presented impressive numbers. Burkina Faso grew 22% last year. We created 300,000 new jobs. Our literacy rate is 89%. This is not a miracle. It is the result of smart policies and respectful partnerships. The audience applauded enthusiastically. One student asked, "How did you stay calm when you were attacked?" Ibrahim smiled. "My mother always said, 'Ibrahim, ignorant people make noise. Wise people make a difference.' I chose to make a difference." After the talk, Ibrahim and Ellen walked around the Harvard campus. "Do you know that you have completely changed my life?" Ellen said. "And you have changed the perception of millions of Americans about Africa. We did this together," Ibrahim replied. "You had the courage to admit mistakes and learn. That's rare these days." Ellen announced her latest surprise. "I'm moving my program from Los Angeles to a permanent headquarters in Ouagadougou. I want to show the world that Africa is the future." That night, at a dinner at the White House, President Trump spoke of the transformation. "IBRAHIM TRAORÉ has done more for the image of Africa in 1 year than our ambassadors have done in decades." In Burkina Faso, crowds celebrated in the streets. Their young president had proven that respect is earned with dignity, not aggression. "Ibrahim taught us that we are great," said one protester. "We don't have to shout to be heard." Years later, historians would study this period as the moment when modern Africa was introduced to the world. And it all began with a young president who chose to respond to insults with politeness, transforming ignorance into understanding.